those of you that didn't happen to come last week or that I haven't met before, my name's Amy Benedict, and I'm the Director of GSE Career and Professional Development.
And my name is Allison Viverette. I'm the Graduate Assistant in the GSE Career and Professional Development Office. And I'm also here, come in, getting my Master's in Higher Education. So I'm a student here just like many of you.
So this is the second of our Wednesday workshops. I want to let you know that we're trying something new this semester, and we are having our dear colleague Charles Washington record the session. And then he edited last week's and posted it to the GSE YouTube channel. And I'm sure you're all subscribed to the GSE YouTube channel, right? So for your classmates, friends that weren't able to go last week or weren't able to come this week, they'll be able to, benefit from the session through a recording of the session. So that also means that your face, profile, voice, whatever will be in the video, and if that's not okay with you, then you should probably leave. Okay, so hearing none, what's that in American weddings? Is there anybody here about who thinks this marriage should not go forward?
Oh, I forget what that's
Speak
called.
now or forever hold your
Yeah.
peace. That's it. Speak now or forever hold your peace. Anyway, so today's topic is networking broadly, and we're going to focus specifically on Penn GSE in particular. And I just want to do a quick show of hands. How many of you came to this session last week? 2, 3. Okay, interesting.
Thanks for returning.
Thanks for returning. How many are GSE students? How many are not GSE students? Okay, that's fine. And others are welcome too. I just wanted to get a feel for who's who and as we think about examples and whatnot. So, shall we dig in? Okay, great. Oh, and there's an attendance sheet circulating. So if you just make sure to sign that before you leave at least, for a couple of reasons. We're doing, remember, those of you that are new GSE students, the 5 things that you want to learn this year. One of them is research. And so we're doing research by collecting data about who's coming. And I don't mean individual names and whatnot, but which programs, which degrees, so that we can get better at planning our programming and outreach and whatnot. Okay, so here we go. Just going to give you a quick overview of what we're going to go over. Oh, question that came up this morning. Would it be helpful to you when Allison sends the survey to receive the PowerPoint slides? So even though it's going to be recorded, would you like the PowerPoint slides too?
Yes.
Yes. Any objections? Hearing none, we will go on. All right. So we did our introductions, and I'm going to count that we know a little bit about who's in the room as our group introduction. We're going to talk a little bit about networking. We're going to do a live networking example. Oh, no, sorry. I'm going to tell you a story about a networking example. We are going to talk about the elevator pitch, but because some of you were at last week's session, and or you might have been at one of the orientation sessions where we did elevator pitch, we're not going to do writing of an elevator pitch again. We're just going to refer to it generally. And then we're going to do some practicing. After we show you a demonstration, we're going to talk a little bit about, well, who's in your network? Talk a little bit about the job search, and then give you some data about how GSE students in the past have found their jobs. So we're definitely working today on one of your other learning goals, networking. Okay, so here we go. Just as a reminder, there is a whole team of people that are here to serve students in the Graduate School of Education. And the group at the top is with Penn Career Services. The woman in the middle is at our counseling and psychological services. Her specialty areas are career counseling and working with international students. And then Allison and I there at the bottom. This is a preview of a card that is forthcoming. We found one more edit this morning, and then we're gonna get it printed. So, okay, when you hear the word networking, what does it mean to you? What do you think of? How do you define it?
To me, I think networking is getting to know more people within and outside of GSE, and get potential contacts who might be helpful when you are searching for your job or you're exploring your academic development.
Beautiful, great description. Anyone want to add to that? So to me, one of the most important parts that you said was developing relationships. So the official network, or definition of networking in the dictionary, I don't remember which dictionary. I apologize for not citing. I probably would have an academic integrity issue if I were a student. So the exchange of information or services among individuals, groups, or institutions, specifically the cultivation of productive relationships for employment or business. Now, to me, I simplify it. Oh, first known use was 1967, and I see a typo in my slides. My definition, networking is doing research and building relationships. I think I'm actually gonna modify that a little bit. So sometimes people think they have to know somebody who's in a position to give them a job at the organization where they want to work. And that's not true. I mean, if you have that, good for you, but most of us don't. So it's researching, getting to know people, and finding the information that you are seeking. So I am going to give you a networking story from my own career journey. So back in the day when I was a brand new master's graduate, I was looking for a job. So here we go. Though I didn't look like that then, I thought about finding a picture, but I haven't yet, was attending church on a Sunday morning, and this is a real picture of the church my family attended. And I was having a cup of tea after church with Mrs. Gardner. And I had babysat for Mr. and Mrs. Gardner's children, Mary Ellen and Tommy. That's not really their picture either, I just found one that kind of looked like them. Well, I forgot that Mrs. Gardner was a math faculty member at the local community college. So, while sipping that cup of tea, she asked me, "What are you up to?" And I told her that I was looking for a job doing counseling. So, Mrs. Gardner told me that Corning Community College had just received a state grant to provide career counseling to people on public assistance. So to help support them in getting either a certificate or an associate's degree and then finding work so they would no longer be dependent on social services. So they were looking for a career counselor. So I submitted, Mrs. Gardner gave me the name of the person that was the chair of the search. I submitted my resume and cover letter. I had an interview, and I became the career counselor for that program. So I like to say that I got my job at Corning Community College drinking tea at church. Now, a couple things to point out. It was based on a relationship. So that, obviously I knew her well. It doesn't have to be that you get information from somebody you know well. I also had to have the qualifications. she gave me the information I needed to apply for the job. I still had to go to the interview, and there were other candidates, and they selected me. So I like to tell this story to try to simplify networking a little bit for folks. Anything you want to add to that for the moment?
No, sounds perfect.
Okay. So, those of you that were here last week and or have been to one of the orientation sessions on professional communication know a little bit about the elevator pitch. So, for the folks in the room that weren't at any of those sessions, who would like to teach the class what an elevator pitch is? Not one of us. Yes.
An elevator pitch, the name it's given elevator pitch is because you have approximately 60 seconds to talk about to the person you are meeting in the lift, which can potentially offer you a engagement, any kind of business engagement. It can be contractual, permanent, or part-time, or anything.
Yep.
Basically, you have 60 seconds to sell yourself to that person by the time he or she gets out of that elevator.
Excellent.
And you have to sell yourself. So you basically want to tell something about yourself and be fitting the role, which is the requirement. So if you don't know what the person is looking for, and if you're just telling something that I'm good at music, while the person is not interested in music, he's looking for a business role, it's never gonna happen.
Yes.
So you should know what you're pitching for and modify your pitch according to what the requirement is, putting your skills forward.
Yep.
It's a long.
So the idea is, I'm going to summarize. He gave a great answer to it. But you're telling someone in about the amount of time that an elevator or lift ride, to be more inclusive, I'm going to add lift to it. Would you call it a lift pitch? That sounds funny.
No, we call it elevator pitch,
Okay.
but it's just that we call lift in India. So
Right. No, I like that. It's important. It's important to remember how words can be used differently. That's a whole nother session. So, I also gave you background on a great way to start your writing your elevator pitch is using the top 10 reasons to hire me exercise, which I did not bring with me because I don't want to spend our time doing that today. But you can either watch the video or come meet with one of us for more information about that. One of the challenges with an elevator pitch can be you don't always know who the person is that you're talking to. I mean, it's a wonderful situation if you get in the elevator and Dr. Amy Gutman is in the elevator and you really want to work at Penn. But you might get in the elevator with someone you don't know who they are and who they're connected to. So we're going to talk about that type of elevator pitch, which is a little different. It's a little more focused on the work you'd like to do without knowing for sure who the other person is. So another phrase that I've been playing around with a little bit is your professional introduction. All right? So here's the scenario that I'm going to set. Because I've noticed that setting the stage helps people in this exercise. I want you to imagine that you are attending the GSE reception, I believe in Steitler, on homecoming weekend with GSE alumni. And Angela Duckworth, by the way, for anybody that knows Angela Duckworth's work. Thank God you're editing this. So you know these are alumni from the Graduate School of Education. Anybody got an empty seat next to them? If you could raise your hand.
There's one all the way in the back.
Looks like there's one over
without a
here.
desk.
So that's the scenario. And I want you to be thinking about, so pretend it's Friday. You know you're going to be going to this event on Saturday, and you're starting to think about, oh, what's my professional introduction going to be? I know they're alumni, I know they're going to be interested in hearing from me, but I'm not going to know at first who they are and what they know. So, I want you to think about that for a moment. And pairing you up last week did not work as well as I had hoped it would. So, I haven't thought about another, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26. Excellent, there's even number.
First round, I just do next to each other.
No, but then if they're friends, it's not as realistic. Right? Because they're straight, you know, you might know each other, so that doesn't make it as hard. Maybe we should just do it that way for now, though.
Just for this one.
Okay, so you two are going to be a pair. 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 You two. You two. You two. You two. And then I think it's obvious for those of you in the middle. Okay, so here's what I want you to do. And I'm going to tell you step by step because I've learned if I tell you all the steps at once, it gets a little confusing. So first, I want you to introduce yourself to your neighbor and tell them your name, the program you're in, and the degree you're seeking. And then I'll tell you the next step. Go. Okay, have you all introduced yourselves to each other? I suspect you continue talking, which is fine. I'm glad. I like that. Okay, so now this is a quick task. I want you to decide who is going first. And then I'll tell you what going first means. All right, every pair got who's going first? Okay, so here's what you're going to do. Now you're going to pretend you're, oh, we forgot to do the demonstration.
I know.
Sorry. Okay, sorry. You still, but this is still good. You know who's going first. So what I'm going to be having you do is what Allison and I are going to show you. The first person is going to do their professional introduction to their partner. Then their partner is going to ask probing questions to get more information. And you're going to keep going back and forth, asking more probing questions until your partner thinks of somebody they know whose interests relate to her career interests. And I will tell you right now, every time I have done this exercise, even with people from all over the world, it always works. Oh. So if you know the theory, 6 degrees of separation, the idea that you're connected to anybody in the world by no more than 6 people, it's kind of that concept. All right? So we're going to go ahead. Hi, Allison.
Hi, Amy.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you as well.
I'm a graduate of the higher ed program from the class of 2010.
Wow, that's fantastic. I'm actually here right now getting my master's in higher education.
Oh, awesome. How are you liking it?
I love it. It's been great so far. A little overwhelming at first, but I'm having a good time.
Good. Where do you see yourself headed in the future?
I'm hoping to do career and professional development once I graduate, hopefully back home in Pittsburgh.
Great. Tell me a little bit more. Are you thinking undergrads? Are you thinking graduate students?
Definitely undergrads. I actually am really interested in student athletes.
Oh my gosh. Do you see yourself working in like a central career office? Do you see yourself at a Division I school where maybe you're actually employed by athletics and working there?
Yeah. So I definitely want to do a Division I school, and I want to start out working in a central career office, and eventually parlay into an athletic department.
Okay. And Pittsburgh is where you would like to be ideally.
Yeah, that's ideal.
So, I belong to a professional association called the National Career Development Association. And they have state chapters, and the Pennsylvania group has just started.
Oh, fantastic.
And I got a list of the founding members, and I am pretty sure that one of them works in a career office at a college in Pittsburgh.
Oh, wow.
How about if I send you her name?
I think that's fantastic.
Great.
Your email?
Yes.
How do we do?
Okay, you two are going to be a pair, and you don't even know. She knows, you don't know yet. So, now, it's a little different because we kind of already knew a little bit about each other's backgrounds, so it makes it a little bit easier.
I was trying to withhold a little bit of information
You
so
did
that
a
you could
great
think
job.
Thank you.
So again, sometimes it's, this person has to ask more questions to try to figure out who they might know, or an organization they might know, or a website they might know, or something like that. Okay, so you've got a little bit of an idea of how it's gonna go, right? Okay, so now we're gonna have you practice. Sorry, I got ahead of myself. All right, so we're gonna do round 1A. So the person that goes first is gonna go, and you're gonna go back and forth like we did until the other person comes up with some person, organization, website that would be useful to the other person in their job search. And then once you've done that, if you will just be silent, that'll be the way I'll know that everybody's done. All right, everybody ready? Go. I just want to check in, is everybody just chatting and not still working to get their contact?
No, we work very hard.
So everybody's done?
No.
No, you're not done, you're still, okay. Just not to, who else needs time still? Okay, keep going, it's fine. I just wanted to get a feel for who was still chatting and who was really done. Okay, go ahead, give me a sign, give us a sign when you're done. She started the company while she was
Fulbright doesn't sponsor people for MBA at all.
You're not getting very far, but you got a little bit of a late start. So I'm not gonna count you as a failure. Because you're gonna keep going. In a moment. Okay, so I wanna ask, I think, group number 1, tell us about the information that you got. Maybe give us some background of, so what kinds of jobs will you be seeking, and what kind of contact, or what kind of information did you gather?
So I'm a biotechnology master's, and I am seeking business development jobs for a biotech company and not the lab side. So I introduced him to my interests as to not looking for a lab position and stuff like that, what my interests are, and how I developed those interests. So I got information from him that he has a very close friend doing her PhD in a top university in China, and she has a lot of contacts who can help me, and whom I got the email ID. So.
Beautiful. I think you were group number 2. Who was it? You were it. So tell us a little bit about the kind of work you're going to be looking for, and what's the contact you got.
So I'm actually looking for a teaching job back in China. Like I'm considering sites like Beijing, Shanghai, or Shenzhen, like both the north and south part. And especially interested in like a normal private school, but with like an international branch in it. So it's not like an international school. And Tracy, one of her teachers in Sichuan, probably knows somebody who works at such like institute in Shanghai. So she just gave me
Beautiful.
her email.
Perfect. Okay, and who did I say was group number 3? I think, were you guys 3? Or you guys 3?
I don't know.
All right. Which group would like to share?
Okay, I'd like to share.
Okay, go ahead.
I'm seeking a teaching job in West Coast, and probably I prefer to teach like in K-12 public school because I have a teaching experience in public school before, so that would be my first choice. But in like a private school or just organization, that would be good as well. and she just gave me some suggestion that she knows some friends working in Cali, especially working in LA right now. Probably help me to give me more like education information in Cali, like which kind of teacher is preferring there, give me some background information about that.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Great. So now I want to ask a little bit about, okay, so how was that process?
Good.
Good. Can you say more? Would you say more? I know you can say more.
Fantastic. So I just, we did it one round, right? So I have only introduced myself.
Correct.
So I got to know a lot about her, the work she does, and I got to know that, she's working for a company in Japan. She used to work for the company in Japan, and which is run by a Harvard MBA alumni who's also, interestingly, a Fulbright scholar. We were talking about how the company helps in helping intercultural gap being fulfilled for primary and secondary education. So actually, I think the exercise helped us connect on a professional level, which otherwise just becomes chit chat and we don't know much about each other and
Yep.
Shared interests.
Great.
So
Okay, so guess what we're going to do now?
You want me to do it?
Right, we're going to switch. Yes, so we're going to do 1B. So now the other person is going to be it. You're still at the GSE alumni reception, and you're going to go back and forth until you get information from your partner. And if you guys can decide if you want to keep going until you get one, and then you can switch. All right? So, go. Okay, I think we're gonna stop for now. We'll give you guys time to continue later. So how was it that time for partner B? The second name.
We did it faster.
You did it faster. Uh-huh. So he said something related too.
Yeah, I did something. I did this time much faster than last time, I guess.
And what we talked about a little bit is in this scenario, you're at an alumni reception. They already spent the first part of the conversation getting to know each other a little better. So he said, we got right to the point.
Yeah.
In a real scenario, if he was just starting his conversation with her at the reception, it might be a little weird to just get right to the point. So it was a great real life example, if you will. And I didn't even plan it that way. How about other reactions? Oh, come on, you were all just gabbing a second ago.
I think in my session, I get more straightforward, goes into my objective directly. So she get my idea very quickly and offer, what kind of relationship she has, to me. So I think it helps to get what I want if I be straightforward, right direct to my objective.
Yeah. Question, did anybody get a job offer as a result of their conversation? Of course you didn't. So that's part of the point of networking. It's not that she gave you a job, it's that she gave you information that might lead you to more information, that will lead you to more information, that will lead you to a job opening that you've still got to apply for and go to the interview. So again, trying to help you understand, it's not about getting a job from the conversation. It's about doing your research, gathering information, and developing relationships. Okay, so one of the sets of feedback that we got from the workshops last year is that people really liked when we gave them opportunity to practice what we were talking about in the workshop, because otherwise you might not have an opportunity to. So now we're going to do round 2, and you're going to switch partners. So here's what I think we're going to do. So you two are going to be partners. Now, you two, you two, you two, you two, you two, you two, to. And you're gonna be her partner. If you need, oh, there is another chair here.
Did we not get the middle right here?
Did I miss somebody?
You guys can.
Oh, right.
Flip back.
You guys are gonna, you and you, you and you.
Yeah.
And you're with him. So again, if you will turn to your partner and decide who's gonna go first, and then go back and forth until you get some bit of information.
Hi, nice to meet you. Nice to meet you.
Does anybody still need time to finish up? Any pairs still need time to finish up?
Which language do you want?
Conversations, I love that, great. So how was it this time? For the it's, the number ones that went first, the A's. More efficient. Do you know why?
Breakfast.
She's talking, not you.
This time I know what my partner wants to know about me exactly.
Yeah, so by having to practice, you got to think a little more clearly about, oh yeah, what do I want? So good, good partnership. What else?
Encountering some new questions.
Ah, great. Love it.
And people offer new opportunities.
Yes, different opportunities. So I'm guessing you didn't get the same info from her that you got from her, right? I mean, you could have, but you probably didn't. Other observations?
New perspective.
Say that again.
New perspective.
A new perspective.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, because depending on the person's experience, they might take the conversation in a slightly different way. All right. So both partners went? Yes? Okay, great. So I think it's Allison's turn.
Yes. So.
You got to go all the way.
Yeah. So why do you think that we had you do this exercise with each other? Any thoughts?
To prepare us for our future career or any other plans we have in our minds, because the master program is relatively very short.
That is true, yes. Any other thoughts on why we had you guys talk to one another about this? Yep.
To make us realize that everyone we know here at UPenn or GSE are within our network.
Exactly. So I think one thing that's really easy to get caught up in, and you kind of touched on this a little bit earlier, is that we look at our classmates as our peers and our friends, and we chit-chat with one another and we have conversations, but oftentimes we shy away from having conversations about our careers and what we hope to do after Penn GSE. But the people sitting next to you have lots of connections of their own and can tell you who to tap into, who they can refer you to. So keep that in mind. Very vital connection here at Penn GSE.
And it's a great example of one of my goals of getting people from different programs. Now I know you guys happen to say you are in the same program, and I'm guessing some of you that came together are in the same program. But getting to know people from other programs and realizing, oh, they are useful resources as well.
Exactly. And also here at Penn GSE, we are very lucky in the sense that we have faculty members here who are at the top of their fields professionally. And because many of them have been in the field for many years, and because they are very good at what they do, they have very large networks of people that they are happy to refer you to. So again, don't shy away from talking to your professors about what you ultimately want to do after Penn GSE. It's easy to just talk to them about a specific class and how you're going to get through that class, but also know that they are part of your professional network now. Going off of that, staff, again, are really important people to talk to, and they are really important in getting you connected to alumni as well. Same with faculty members. I think staff here, especially being in the Graduate School of Education, all of our staff members also work in education. And while it's higher education and not all of you might want to go into higher education, it still is in that general realm of work that we're all trying to get into. So keep that in mind.
So I want to give you 2 examples of how 2 staff members in this room could be useful to your network. anyone interested in working in some capacity with education and media? Okay. Our very own Charles Washington. You are 1 degree of separation from Charles Washington. He is 1 degree of separation from Nicolas Cage. Wow. Now, does that mean that Charles can give you his cell phone number or email address? Maybe he can, but he's probably not allowed to. But the power of, you just don't know who people know. I want to share an example of how you are connected to someone that you will definitely recognize. Anybody interested in working in government sector in some capacity? Yes, yes, okay. So, you know me, so that's 1 degree of separation. I have a classmate, Glenn, 2 degrees of separation. He worked at the U.S. Department of Education for Arne Duncan, who was the Secretary of Education at the time. So now I'm going to test your history and American government knowledge. Who was Arne Duncan's supervisor? Anybody? The President of the United States, Barack Obama, at the time. So you are 4 degrees of separation from Barack Obama. All of you. Well, and therefore Michelle as well. So again, does that mean that you can call Barack and Michelle tonight and say, hey, I want to tell you about my career plans? No, but it shows you the information that you have access to, in this case through 2 degrees of separation, in this case through 4 degrees of separation.
And in Penn broader, lots of famous politicians have gone here. So keep that in mind. The current president of the United States has been.
As did our former vice presidents, at least one of his sons.
Yes. So here in the United States, a lot of people are very close with their alma maters. There are lots of alumni networks, and I know that isn't as common internationally, but that still shouldn't shy you away from finding out who went to your undergrad institution and if you can tap into that network at all. So great resource. And also from former employers. Again, people get a little bit nervous going to an old boss and not using them, but working with them to find other connections in the industry. It's perfectly normal. That's how people network in today's economy. And so all of your former employers previously worked at other institutions, and they're great people to tap into to learn more about the field and find out more people who might be of help to you. So who else do you think at Penn GSE and outside of Penn GSE can be part of your professional network? That's not listed on the board.
Yep, maybe as we students, we are seeking for a teaching job, maybe our formal teachers.
Yes, that's a really good one. Anyone else?
I think the career service office definitely will be my most, important,
Yes.
reach out.
Thank you.
We'll do our best.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Like if you volunteer, if you're part of any clubs or anything.
Definitely.
Many big companies have their hiring managers on campus, and that's a very good resource to reach to.
Yes, on-campus interviews. Anyone else? Yep, go ahead.
Family.
Yes.
Yes!
That's a really big one.
Neighbors!
Yeah.
May I share a little personal detail about you?
Sure, yeah.
So Matt, Allison's boyfriend, is in his residency after dental school. So if any of you were interested in health and education, you might be able to connect with Allison's boyfriend because of that.
I'm sure he'd be happy to talk.
I believe Mrs. Washington is a lawyer. So if you were interested in law and education, you might be able to connect with her. So think about, again, you just don't know who people know.
Yes, and so the point of asking that is everyone you've ever met is part of your network, and you don't know who everyone knows. So I encourage you to have those conversations with people and dig a little bit deeper. So in terms of alumni, you might be wondering, how do I actually access Penn's alumni network, and how do I build connections with those people for my career? LinkedIn is a really good resource for that, and one small plug for GSE, you can actually now associate your school to Penn GSE. Previously, a lot of people just did Penn, and this will still be affiliated with Penn broadly, but it's a much easier way to find alumni, staff, faculty on LinkedIn specifically.
And then another resource that you have access to after you've completed one semester at Penn is QuakerNet. So QuakerNet is Penn's online alumni directory. So for any of the alums that are living, that we have records for, that are willing to share that information with the Penn community, you'll be able to log into QuakerNet with your Penn key and have access to alums who graduated from all the schools and colleges. You can do keyword searches, you can do location searches, you can search by school. There's a variety of ways that you can search. And I'm hoping that by January, our new site, Penn GSE Connects, will go live. And that's going to be a platform where you will be able to connect with Penn GSE alumni, and you'll know what kinds of assistance they're willing to provide. So details on that forthcoming, I hope.
So Amy already pointed this out, but the purpose of networking is oftentimes for research. It's for gathering information about where you might want to take your career, finding out, oh, that person works in this field and I really like that, or that person works in that field and I actually don't really like that, even though you thought you did. We find that out of every 10 conversations, 10 networking conversations, there are about 2 to 5 connections that you move forward with and think that it's work that you want to continue doing. So once you've discovered those 2 to 5 people, a big key is moving the conversation forward with them. Then opening the question about, how do you suggest that I find a job in this field or openings at that company? That's not something that we typically like to include in the first conversation because we like to build the relationship first before giving the impression that you were trying to get a job from that connection.
How many of you are graduating in May 2020? Oh, so so I'll still use you as an example. Today, September 11th, most employers, depending on the field, have no idea what their employment needs are for June 1st, 2020, shall we say. We'll give you a couple weeks after graduation to relax. So these conversations can be happening now. This conversation can wait until the spring semester, for example. It doesn't have to, but if you're concerned about how do I navigate this process time-wise, especially if you're only here for 2 semesters or something, think about information gathering now and then uncovering openings in the semester that you're graduating.
And just one important note, I think the information gathering process does take a bit of time, which you touched on. Right here in this classroom, you all just got connections that you want to eventually reach out to. Well, it's going to take you a little bit of time to do that, and then they might refer you to other people, and so keep that in mind. It's not instantaneous. So this is a small template that you can turn to when approaching someone for an informational interview. This is on Penn Career Services website, but I believe we have printout.
I know, I don't know if I have enough, but
that's okay. I'll just send you the slides, so you'll have them in the slides afterwards and the video. But typically the template that we like to follow is giving the first paragraph on why you reached out to them specifically, and then the second paragraph telling them a little bit more about you and how those 2 things connect. It doesn't have to be super long, and this is something that you actually won't be able to do on LinkedIn, which we'll get to the next slide. So on LinkedIn, when you're connecting with someone who you don't currently have a connection with, I think you only have 50 to 100 characters to use. So choose your words wisely. You can't give a bunch of context on why you reached out to them specifically, but you can use, for example, when you're reaching out to alumni, the words Penn GSE, I'm a current student here, and it gives them an indicator of why you reached out to them in the first place. So in this instance, the person that Kelly was connecting to, his name was Ashley, he accepted her connection and wrote her a small message. Oh, I also went to Penn GSE and I was in this program and this year. Kelly then responded and then said why she wanted to talk to him, both about Penn and about his current work experience. So again, giving that context. Asked for an interview, informational interview, was very accommodating to his schedule, thanked him, and he was very happy to chat with her. So again, these conversations don't need to be intimidating. Very, very often, people are happy to talk to you. So keep that in mind when you're approaching them.
Yeah, because look in this ask. Did Kelly ask Ashley for a job? No, she asked to talk about his career and hear his story. I should find out the rest of where this conversation went. I can't remember where Ashley works, but through Kelly's networking, she was the GA last year in career and professional development. She is now working at the Career Center at the University of Berkeley in California. Oh, and just a little data, and I will confess this is not updated. My time got away from me yesterday, but you can find more recent data on the Penn GSE Career and Professional Development website. So for the students that respond to the survey, which was about 53% that year, so a pinch over half, any smart program students in the room? So you know that's not necessarily great statistically, that's why we're working on it, not terribly representative. However, with the data we have and keeping that in mind, we know that 3% said they got their job from a direct inquiry or cold call. 5% got them from their internship site, their student teaching site, a previous employer. 22% got them by looking at job listings. That could be on Handshake or LinkedIn or Vault or Indeed or PA CareerLink or any number of job sites that you can think about. The largest number, I guess I pressed the wrong one. The largest number, networking. And that's a little low compared to the averages. So that's part of why I've been working really hard to get you all to tell me what you do when you graduate so that we can have more accurate representation of here's what our students do and here's how they find their jobs. So that as you're deciding, oh my gosh, you know, time management, how am I going to spend my time? I've got a paper to write, I've got my job, I've got, personally, I would spend the majority of the time having these lovely conversations with people.
And a little bit of homework. If you don't have a LinkedIn page or you haven't updated your LinkedIn page since you started here at Penn, definitely do that. Definitely affiliate yourself to GSE and follow up on the connections that your peers gave you today. I think that's a great way to kind of kickstart your job search process.
And invite both of us to be part of your network.
On LinkedIn?
Right? So, I mean, for example, Kelly's been working in marketing for 6 years. She graduated undergrad from a different institution. I've been working in this field for 31 years. I've worked at 3 other institutions. I'm an alum of one of our programs. So you have access to our networks by asking us to join your network. So, we still have about 5 minutes. Are there any questions that don't get into too much nitty-gritty detail about your personal work situation? We had a couple of those last week. It was like, no, we can't do that here. So, yeah.
I mean, I have a question about these percentages. Do we know in what other ways these students got jobs? Because it doesn't add up to 100.
Are you in the SMART program?
No.
Oh, okay, that's okay. A math teacher? No, okay. Kidding. So yes, you can go to the career plan survey from this date and you can see the others. These were sort of the majority ones and I combined yeah, I can talk to you about. I combined some things that really were networking. Anyway.
I think the classroom setting is that, the other person is very willing to help you, but in real life, it may not be the case every time. So maybe in our next workshop, maybe you can, help us with how can we ask these, probing questions to make people more willing to help you.
So you bring up a really good point. So everybody in this room was willing to help because they came to the workshop. And I would assume if you go to the GSE alumni reception or events where employers are hosting coffee chats or something like that, they are going to be very willing to talk to you. So sometimes somebody isn't going to be very willing to talk to you. So I'm going to share, anybody familiar with Don Miguel Ruiz's work, the 4 agreements? Okay, so one of the agreements, it's kind of, what's the word I want? Advice for life. One of them is don't take anything personally. So you have no idea what's going on in that person's life. They might have a pressing work engagement. They might be sick. They might have had a death in the family. They might be at a conference. They might be away on vacation. So one thing I would put out there is don't take it personally. And here's another one. I'll give an example. Somebody emailed our account on Saturday morning and wanted to meet with one of us on Monday. FYI, Kelly and I are not checking the career and professional development email over the weekend. So even though among your friends and family, you might be expecting, instantaneous responses, that's not always how everybody in the rest of the world works. So that would be a situation where I would be saying, if you and I were talking about it, I would say, well, if you email on Saturday and it's only Monday, maybe the person hasn't even checked their email yet. So I would give it a few days. And then you can also say to someone, let's say a couple weeks have gone by. You could say, I understand you might be busy. Who else do you know that you think might be willing to talk to me? So I say, don't take no as an answer. Try to get the name of somebody else that you could talk to. And if it really just goes nowhere, let it go. Move on. Don't take it personally. Other questions before I give one last, words of wisdom. That's the phrase I was looking for. Any other questions?
I think one other thing that I want to add on top of that is if you do actually have a conversation with someone and you find, and let's say it's someone who works at a company that you were thinking about working for, and you find out that that person's kind of cold, not really interested in helping, whatever else, that's something to take away from that phone call. And you have to ask yourself, is that someone that I want to be a coworker in my next position? So while the outcomes of these informational interviews aren't always super positive, they're still important to, reach. So keep that in mind.
Yeah. And 2, an N of 1 doesn't always give you the best sense. So you would want to, if you were really excited about that employer, you'd want to talk to other people to find out, okay, is everybody that works there consistently like that? Or was it just this one person? So keep that in mind too. Anything else? So I just want to give you some thoughts to consider as you navigate the rest of the day and week and whatnot. Be kind to each other. You have no idea what sort of baggage people are carrying around. So another one of Don Miguel Ruiz's agreements is don't make assumptions. And know that everybody out there in this room and beyond is doing the best that they can. And if you see somebody that you think might be having a tough time, it would be so much better if you said, hey, you doing okay? And had them say, yeah, why? So that at the very least, she knew that I noticed and I cared. She might not be going through anything at the moment. She might not feel comfortable sharing. So Penn can be a challenging place. It's wonderful, many wonderful aspects, and it can be challenging. So Be kind out there. Okay? Okay. Now get out of here.
Did everyone sign in?